All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back for another episode. We have another awesome guest with us. We have Susan Niebergall in the house. She is an online weight loss coach. She is a co-coach with Jordan Syatt for the Inner Circle. She is the author of Fit at Any Age. It's Never Too Late, and she is living proof that age is just a number. And we're going to be talking all about that. So, Susan, welcome to the show.
Thank you. So great to be here and great to meet you.
Very great to meet you too. I know when I see people engaging on your stuff, I'm like, oh, I know them, I know them, I know them. And
Oh,
I'm like, oh.
really?
And you fell off my Instagram for a little bit. I'm like, I loved her posts. Where did they go? And the algorithm decided to put you elsewhere, but I'm glad that I brought you back in.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, I don't know any of this algorithm stuff. You know what I mean? I am just
Yep.
so I don't know.
Yep. I like when I got on, I'm like, okay, you want to play that game? I liked five of your things. So if
Oh,
anybody listening right now has someone like that's a good professional they like to follow, just blast theirs with likes and that'll
yeah,
tell them you're good.
good to know. Thank
Yes,
you.
yes. Of course, of course. So now the reason, actually, I got to stop myself. I told myself I was going to say this, get this out of the way so there's no awkwardness or anything. Full disclosure, I know you're a Philadelphia Eagles fan, correct?
Oh, hell no.
No? Oh, no,
No.
you're a Washington Redskins fan. Commanders. Sorry.
Yes. No,
So,
no, no. No. I'm a Washington Redskins fan.
yes.
Sorry.
And because I remember I was listening to a podcast that you were on, and I'm like, oh, I have another NFC East person. Okay.
So who are you?
I I am a lifetime Dallas Cowboys
I
fan.
knew that was coming. Dang it. I knew that was coming. And okay, so I'm always curious, how did that come to be? Do you live in Texas?
I do not. And
Oh,
I was born into a family where my dad was the original front runner because to his credit, he grew up with guys like Tony Dorsett, Roger
right.
Staubach, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I would be a fan too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I didn't like Roger Staubach back in the day or Tom Landry back in the day, but I respected them both. Like, I
Yep.
mean, you had to, right? I mean,
And
they're
that,
great.
and that's kind of the same boat that I put like Tom Coughlin and like Bill Belichick in. I'm like, I hate them, but I respect the hell out of them.
Yeah. 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 No, season ticket holder over here. I mean, for many, I grew up as a Washington Redskins season ticket holder in my family and went to games all the time. My dad took me to touchdown club events where Redskins were there. I mean, I just grew up with this.
Mhm.
I kept statistics. I was just crazy about it. We have a whole bar room in our house of Redskin paraphernalia that I've had since, man, 1972, probably.
Wow. So you
Yeah,
got a
yeah.
collection.
Oh, for sure. I have from when during the last Super Bowl the Redskins won, Mark Ribbon was the quarterback. I have the original plate that the Washington Post printed. I mean, back then they printed the newspapers off these plates, these metal plates. I have the front page and the sports page, the original. I mean, I just
Wow.
have all kinds of crazy stuff like that. So yeah, I'm a big time fan. And the whole name change, I mean, it's never going back, but this logo that I have on now was shown at our new coach's press conference. He wasn't supposed to be wearing this because it's not an NFL licensed shirt, but everyone went
uh,
ballistic to it because it's kind of like a nod to the history,
mhm.
which I think is perfect. I think everyone would be so happy with that. Just nodding that the Redskins existed, and that they were this great team, blah, 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 the history. So
Yep.
yeah, I'm
And
all about it.
what cracks me up about that whole thing is like there's a whole other section of people that should be on that side where they're like, I feel offended, but they're like, no, we're represented. What the hell? Bring it
Yeah.
back. It's a
Yeah.
very interesting argument there.
It's been crazy, and the name is not settled yet. I really feel like once they figure out where the new stadium's going to be, I think a
Hmm.
name change will come with the stadium at some point because people just don't like the Commanders. But if they start winning and playing really well, I don't think anybody's going to care what the name is. You know,
Exactly.
I think it always comes down to that.
It makes you think a little bit about business where people stress so much about their company name. And it's like, well, it doesn't really mean anything until you
Yeah.
put the work behind it. And then
Yeah.
whatever you come up with, it's going to sound really good.
Yep. Yep. And of course, hope springs eternal here in DC every year. It's kind of like, but now we've got this coach that everyone seems to really like. He's doing all the right things, saying all the right things. We've got this quarterback. We can't wait to see what comes out of him. And yeah, we're probably going to go to a game, probably buy just a game ticket or something along the way this year. We haven't been to a home game in a while. We gave up our season tickets back when my son started having a high school life, and it was just too much on weekends, and
Yeah.
and then they stunk, and it was just like, oh, why are we doing this?
It worked out time-wise perfectly.
100% it did. Yeah. I will say this though. I went to, Jordan is in Texas. And when I go down to visit him, I think it was in 2023, he took me to a Cowboys game. It wasn't Cowboys Washington. I don't know, it was Cowboys Houston, I believe. And boy, what a treat that was, man. That was absolutely amazing. No dog in the fight whatsoever, but just the whole experience of
Yeah.
AT&T Stadium. And just, I mean, it was the best fan experience I think I've ever had. And I've been to a ton of places, and that was like by far the
Yeah, and
best.
honestly, that's on my list because that's another thing I haven't been able to is get to Jerry World.
Oh
I've been
yeah.
on the outside, like because I was at a Raise the Bar, and Alex Shaw, one of the guys that's the locals that I'm friends with, he took me around the whole vicinity,
Mm,
and it's nuts over there. It's so nice.
it's so nice. So much respect for that place. It was just the best. It was just so much fun.
Yeah, yeah. Now, the big thing I wanted to start on when it comes to like having you on the show and everything is your like specific journey because I think that you're one of the best people to learn from as far as someone who's actually walked the walk when it comes to getting in shape, getting fit, losing weight, gaining muscle, and all that good stuff. So I I've had a better idea in my head of how to transition that smoother, but I'm just like, here we go.
Yeah.
Um, so
Let's do it.
what exactly got you into fitness in the first place? Because I know you used to work in the school system, correct? And then
Yeah.
at retirement, things started to shift.
Yeah, as I was approaching retirement, but I had been in and out of the gym since 19 in the 80s, 1980 something, maybe 90. I
Yeah.
just started going to classes like everybody else, and back then classes were more aerobic based with the little weight segments at the end, but it was all about the community piece, a lot of loud music, hooping and hollering. And that got me back in the gym, just like it does for a lot of people, even to this day. And I loved that. And as I was doing more and more of that, I could see the free weight section over there, became really fascinated with that, and just
Hmm.
decided to hire, a trainer at that gym and just to take me around. And I don't remember specifically, but I know I didn't do any barbell work with him. I don't think I did anyway, but we did a lot of dumbbell work and some machines. And I
Hmm.
just loved it. And that kind of started my love for lifting. So that was back in the 90s. And he literally took me through my first son, well, my only son being born. I was pregnant. At one point when I was working with him, and
Hmm.
literally went to a Redskins game, was in the hospital that night. So it all kind of worked out. um, and but this trainer, David, took me through all of that from beginning to end. And that's when I really started loving lifting. And over the years, I just worked with a bunch of different trainers at different gyms that I was belonging to. And it wasn't until I don't know, in my 50s, I guess, is when I hired Jordan. It's been almost 10 years now, which is crazy. Where I hired him to be my 101 coach. I'd never done that before. I wanted to power lift, at least I thought I did at that time. And everyone said, he's the guy, you got to get him. He
Hmm.
was really into powerlifting at the time. So I hired him, not really for nutrition, because I really still had weight to lose. I'm that person that struggled with weight loss my whole life, like so many other women my age. Right. We did all the things. We did all the stupid things, the low fat, the no fat, the grapefruit diet, the whatever. I mean, all these dumb diets and all these stupid fads came through. I remember these appetite suppressants that were little squares of chocolate, for God's sakes. They were squares of chocolate. They weren't any
I'm
appetite
sure
suppressant.
somebody listening is probably like, oh, I remember those.
Yeah, I guarantee you. I talked about them in my book, and I got so many people going, "Oh my God, I took those too." So people in my age bracket, we did all kinds of crazy stuff to lose weight, and of course, none of it worked long term. I mean, I did Jenny Craig back in, I think it was in the 90s. The decades just kind of blur together. It's somewhere a long time ago. Let's just go with that. And I lost 50 pounds. And so a lot of people look at that and say, wow, you were successful. And I'm like, well, I was temporarily, but the problem with a place like that is you don't really learn a ton. You buy their food and you eat it, and it's in these teeny tiny little trays. So I remember being hungry a lot, but I did what I was told. And yeah, I dropped a crap ton of weight, but had no idea how to keep it off. I didn't know how much I was eating. I didn't know the calorie count, protein. I didn't know any of that. We never talked about any of that. Just eat this. And so, of course, I gained and lost increments of that 50 for a couple decades, you know? And so I was always struggling with weight loss. I was never obese. Like I never had over more than 50 pounds to lose. I was never 100 plus overweight, anything like that. And I could hide it pretty well. But I was so uncomfortable and I was so discouraged and I was embarrassed. And then I started lifting and I thought I would love to do this. I was a school counselor, so I talked to people for a living. So I thought, wow, this matches up great as an occupation. I talk to
That
people
sounds like
already.
a
I know how to do
great
that.
prerequisite profession. It's
Right?
basically what it feels like, right?
That's exactly what it was. I use my counseling skills every single day, to this day. So it was a great marriage of occupations. And so while I'm a school counselor, I'm getting certified as a trainer, but I still had a weight issue. And sometimes I had dropped the weight the only way I knew how to drop the weight, which was basically not eat. That's what Jenny Craig taught me. You've got to be hungry all the time. You can't eat much. So that's what I learned. So of course I could drop some weight, but of course I couldn't keep it off. I was never in a great cycle of any of that. And then it got to be, you fast forward into my 50s and I looked down on my stomach one day. I'm like, what the hell is this? It's like it appeared overnight and it didn't, but it felt like it did. I was devastated. I was humiliated because here I'd gotten certified as a trainer and here I looked like this. Are you kidding me? And so I went to my doctor and as I'm waiting in the waiting room, I'm like, oh my God, is this menopause? And I started thinking, that's the reason I have all of this. Oh, my metabolism has slowed down because that's what I had heard. And so I went into my doctor's appointment thinking, oh, this is going to be easy. She's going to do blood work. We're going to find out that my blood work shows that I have this thyroid issue or metabolism issue. I'm going to get some medication and I'm going to take it. It's all going to be good, you know? And of course, it didn't go like that. I had blood work done. We met up again and she said, no, your blood work is fine, which is like it is for most women, almost all women. The blood work's okay. But part of me, when I heard my blood work was okay, I was like disappointed,
Yeah.
when if you think about it, it should have been I should have been so happy that I wasn't a victim to something I had not a lot of control over.
Yeah. It's almost like when you're sick and you're getting taken care of, you kind of like get it used to it and you're like, this is kind of nice. And you're like, wait, this is a bad thing. I shouldn't want to be sick.
Yeah.
And you kind
Yeah.
of fall in love with the victimization of it because you're like, I don't have to do anything at this point.
Yes. And I didn't have to take responsibility either. I didn't have to take responsibility. So it was so much harder to accept this. And when she told me inside in my head, I'm thinking, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. I mean, I was thinking that because she told me, look, if you want to lose weight, you're just eating too much. And I'm like, oh, you know, dagger to the person who thought she was doing everything right. I was the clean eater girl. I ate only the clean foods, but I ate a crap ton of them. I'll tell you that because I never tracked clean foods because why do I need to track clean foods? They're good for me, right?
It's like these zero point foods. Like, come
Yeah,
on, can't you just eat as many as you want?
right. That's what that was my thinking. And I would constantly turn down the office cupcake when we were celebrating somebody's birthday because I thought that was the righteous thing to do. I wasn't allowing myself to enjoy anything because it was going to screw up my progress. And of course, I couldn't see at the time. I was making no progress, right? In my head, I thought I was because I was being so strong and turning down that cupcake. And everybody in the office was fueling my fire, saying, man, you're so disciplined. I wish I could be like you. And one thing I talked about in the book was that very moment when people were telling me that and how on the inside I'm screaming, I want to be like you and be able to eat that cupcake. I want that cupcake. I wanted that chocolate cupcake because I love chocolate cupcakes, but I would never allow myself to have it. So I was kind of living a lie too. I wasn't really being fully honest with myself in my actions and behaviors. And so of course I was struggling. And I think that kind of honesty with yourself is a big problem with women that are struggling to lose weight. You know,
Yeah.
it's hard to do that because taking responsibility for something that's not working and you truly believe deep down inside you're doing the right thing, that's hard. I mean, it's hard to accept. I was that girl. But eventually I did accept it and I started making just simple changes. I didn't start tracking right away, but I just made more of an effort on portion sizes, that kind of thing. And yeah, I started seeing a little bit of results, not a lot, but I thought at that point, okay, I got this now. I got this now. And then I hired Jordan, and I didn't hire him for nutrition stuff at all. I could have, but I just did training. But I listened to everything he said. I read everything he put out. I was this nutrition student without officially being that person. And I joined the inner circle right away as well. And I implemented some of the nutrition guidelines that we still use even actually to this day. And then all of a sudden, oh, yeah, everything started to change, and he and I started communicating more about nutrition, and, yeah, everything changed from that point on. I mean, how I looked, how I felt, my confidence, my lifts in the gym just went through the roof. All of this progress started happening. It was a rocky road to get there, but the thing is, I was in my 50s when this was going on, and so my message now to everybody is just, it's never too late to make changes like this. I did it in my 50s, and you know, I get a lot of people saying, "Oh, well, you just have good genetics." And I'm like, "You first of all, when people say that, it pisses me off because no one knows my genetics. You
No.
don't know my family. You have no idea that I have heart disease in my family. I have obesity in my family. Yet you think that this is easy for me. This is not easy. I worked really, really hard. I still do. I work really hard, but I now see the benefits of it. It's more about a longevity thing. I do have aesthetic goals, just like anybody else. I have strength goals like other people, but I've just made this kind of my life, the fun things I like to do.
Yeah.
And just to let everybody know, look, you can do it too. I am no one special by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah. And that is powerful because I think a lot of people do get into that mindset of like, I need to suffer to get what I want.
Yeah.
And if I don't, if I'm no, if I'm not this weird type of person that can basically be in this discomfort forever, then I don't deserve the results,
Yeah.
or
I
there
was
must be
that girl.
something metabolically wrong with me.
I was exactly that person. It, I didn't understand the whole moderation thing at all. It was kind of all in or all out,
Yeah.
and which is such a bad place to be. And we can use the word perfectionism or whatever. I know people like to say, well, I'm a perfectionist. I'm like, stop with that. No, you're not. You're not a perfectionist because it's probably not bleeding over into other areas of your
Yeah,
life,
it's weird that the people that are perfectionists are the people that leave their cart when they go shopping, or it's
Yeah.
the people that like always are having like one extra thing when they said they would not have that extra thing. That doesn't sound like perfection.
No, and it's a justification to continue behaviors is what it
Yeah,
is, and I call people out on that all the time, because they don't think of it like that. And again, it's easier to say, "Well, I'm a perfectionist. This is what I do." It's easier to say that than have to turn around and take a really good look at what you're doing and find areas that you can improve.
yeah.
And that's when people start making progress when they can do that.
Absolutely. That whole honesty, like you were just talking about, and actually having like these constructive inner conversations. Because I
Yeah.
know that I've seen a few of the posts that you put out on that, and I'm like, this is like spot on. What are some of the things that, like, when you were doing it yourself, what were some inner conversations you were having where you're like, all right, I got to call myself out on this bullshit?
Yeah. Well, I still do this one conversation frequently about the scale. I was never a step on the scale kind of girl. And now I step on it every day because I just want to see what happens. I understand scale fluctuations now because, and anybody that's listening that's in my age group, we didn't grow up with scale fluctuations. We didn't know what they were. No one ever talked about them. It was either you step on the scale and it goes up, that's bad. It's you step on it and goes down, that's good. That's
That's like
all
those
we
the
knew.
Weight Watchers meetings where you'd show up every week and be like, if I'm down, great. If I'm up, oh, bad,
Yeah.
bad.
Oh, yeah, it's bad. And And so even to this day, when I step on the scale and it goes up, I get a little punch in the gut. Nobody likes that. And if anybody says they do, they're lying. Nobody likes to see the scale go up. The difference now for me is that I understand reasons why the scale went up, or potential reasons why. There's a litany of reasons why. And back then I didn't. I just thought I'd gain fat overnight. And we all know you can't really gain fat overnight. But I
Yep.
think something that really helped me is as having a conversation with myself and saying, look, Susan, the scale went up 1.5 pounds from yesterday. Did you eat 5 to 6,000 calories over maintenance yesterday? No, I wasn't even close to that, you know? Oh, okay. So now that makes sense. This is not 1.5 pounds of fat. It's most likely all water weight from a number of things. Maybe the types of foods I ate. Maybe I lifted yesterday. Whatever reason I'm retaining water. And if I stick with this long enough, I'm going to see it just kind of settle back down. And every single time that happens, go figure. And I tell people this: we let emotion just kind of rule the roost in our head, right? And we have logic voices, and they're I said, just imagine this in the back of your head. You got a lazy boy chair and you got logic voices just sitting back there. Their legs are propped up. They're just back there relaxing, not working, not doing anything. And they're watching emotion just go crazy and laughing and just look, she's getting driven nuts because emotion's just taking her down these roads and whatever. We got to get lazy boys, the logic voices off those lazy boys and into the front of your brain and tell yourself to shut up. I've told myself to shut up numerous times. No, you did not eat that much. It's impossible. And we have to keep practicing that, because I feel like with that particular issue, when we allow emotion to now dictate our next step, and if we really let emotion go, we're going to start cutting calories even more because we feel like we've gained weight, right? We're going to do drastic stuff that we don't need to do. And so I think it's just really important to be aware of emotion, that emotion is taking us all kinds of places. And I feel like my generation, we're kind of a pain in the ass in a lot of ways because we come with a lot of baggage. I mean, we do. Especially the older, I'm a boomer. I'm the end of the boomers, right? We come with a lot of baggage of just stuff that we have believed for decades, and you don't unbelieve it just one day, right? I mean, it's ingrained, and so I think the whole scale fluctuation thing is a great example of something that's ingrained. I don't like it when it goes up, but now I know not to let emotion take over and then have me do crazy things. It makes it way more doable. It's okay to feel. I mean, it's okay to not like it. We're human beings, right? But what's not okay is when we let emotion just to get carried away and then we do all kinds of other stuff.
Yeah, especially when it comes to health and fitness. I feel like that art of emotional regulation is not even something that some people should do, some people can't. Like it's a necessity. Like everybody needs to learn how to do it, or you're just going to keep derailing yourself over and over and over again.
Yeah, and we see it all the time. I mean,
Yep.
we see it all the time. It's an emotional response. And I see people out there in Instagram land who will write me and they're all upset because the scale hasn't moved in a week. And I'm like, if you think about your life on this continuum, you know where 1 week is? It's like a teeny tiny droplet. It doesn't matter. And as a matter of fact, it could be multiple weeks that the scale's not moving. And what's even more interesting than that is they're so focused on Monday to Tuesday or Tuesday to Thursday, this micro kind of management of the numbers, that if they would take a step back and look at a broader picture of a month or two, they would say they're actually making progress, but they can't see it because their nose is so far into the weeds of the day to day. But I had somebody just yesterday say, I've actually lost 2.5 pounds over however long it was. And I'm like, you couldn't see that before because you're so focused on the 6 ounces from this day to the 4 ounces of that day. And you're trying to compare day to day to day. And those numbers mean nothing. They mean nothing. You've got to collect a lot of data and then take a step back and take a look at the big picture.
Exactly. It gets into that concept of like data driven decisions because, like you said, if you fly off the rails and you're just going to make decisions on these bad days, then you're just
Hmm.
going to end up going down that cycle of like restrict, 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 and then
Yep.
just say, ah, fuck it one day. I can't do this.
Yeah, 100%. It's not sustainable. It's not healthy. It's not promoting a great relationship with food. None, none of that.
Yeah. And I think another thing too that people downplay a lot is the relationship with exercise. And I know like you're
Oh,
one of those people that like you've gone all in on that. And it's
yes.
something that
It's,
we see. It's like when people keep the weight off, they're usually exercising.
yeah. And, you can take that to an extreme too. I was that girl too. I think people, I, I like to say we need a separate relationship with food and exercise, right? They're kind of two separate purposes in our lives. The food, obviously, for health as well, but if you want to lose scale weight, it's got to nutrition's the drive in that car. There's no other driver that can get you there but nutrition, right? Workout, exercising of any kind. We're doing this for our health, all kinds of health benefits from mental health, heart health, joints, everything, right? And so we need to have two separate relationships. But so many people use exercise to drive that weight loss car, and you will spin your wheels because you'll never know how many calories you are actually burning. You're going to eat them back in about 5 seconds anyway. So it's not worthwhile to focus on exercise if you want to lose weight. Lose weight, focus on your nutrition, but exercise for your health while you're focusing on your nutrition. Lift weights, especially for longevity. I mean, at this point, I feel like lifting weights should be required for anybody 40 and up. I mean, there's just too many benefits for people not to do it. And even if you never love it, okay, that's cool. You don't ever have to love it, but you still need to do it. It's that important. Daily movement, all the things that we both preach all the time. Um, those things are going to keep you going into your 70s, 80s, 90s, and be healthy and happy and have a quality of life, not just a longer life, but a quality of a longer life, right? Which is kind of a I don't want to say it's not a switch over for me, but it's a big issue for me right now. I'm aiming for quality of life for as long as I can.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things that like I credit Peter T a lot for this with bringing to the
Yes.
conversation not just your lifespan but your health span.
Yep.
Like what
Yep.
good is it living until you're 90, 100 years old if you're just going to be sitting around doing nothing and
Yep.
everybody's taking care of you?
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. I jokingly put out on Instagram, and it really maybe not so much of a joke that when I'm 100, I will invite people to come lift with me, because that's kind of what my plan is.
I
And
hope
and
everybody hears
even
this and is like, "Okay, open gym at Susan's house."
Yeah, hey, come on, come on. It's all good. And this is coming, I just had my hip replaced 4 months ago. I did jujitsu today. I mean, I'm lifting, I'm almost back to 200 pounds lifting on a deadlift. I mean, I've had to rebuild. I spent a 2 years, almost 2 years doing nothing but focusing on rebuilding a hip and getting it as strong and stable as possible for my surgery. And then after my surgery, it's just been strength, stability, strength, stability. And yeah, I'm kind of benefiting from newbie gains again because I'm starting from the ground floor, which has been really fun to see. Um, it's so much fun to do that. But I'm 64. I'm not a spring chicken. I'm up there, and I feel like if I can do that at this age, oh my gosh, come on, people, the door's open for anybody. For heaven's sakes, we really have a lot of opportunities at this age, and I just don't think people think that. I think a lot of people just think it's kind of over.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the newbie gains because if somebody's listening right now and they've never properly strength trained and they're like primed and ready to go to reap the benefits of like newbie gains, can you explain to somebody like what that feels like and what that experience is like?
It's interesting for someone that's newer to strength training. You will see you will see gains in strength very quickly, to the point where you might be able to increase weight almost every time you go to the gym on some exercises. Not every exercise, but on a lot of them for a period of time, you're going to be able to move more weight each time, a little bit more weight each time. And you're going to feel yourself getting stronger. It's going to transfer over into your everyday life. You're going to be able to carry more groceries. You're going to be able to go up more steps. I mean, all the things, it's going to start happening. And the light bulb's going to go on going, oh my God, I've gotten so much stronger than I used to be. It's going to probably change how you look a little bit too, depending on what your goals are. And the confidence that comes with that, now that takes you forever, and that will change your life. And that's what it was for me. The confidence in all aspects of your life just goes through the roof. Um, and it's hard to describe how this feels until you've actually done it and experienced it. But anybody that's done it knows exactly what I'm talking about. And what's cool for me right now is I am kind of experiencing that again. You know, it is I think I'm close to the end of it, but it's been really fun for a handful of months, literally coming off of the surgery and starting with no weight on anything, you know. Some upper body movements, yes, but on lower body movements, no. No weight. And watching how fast I'm able to rebuild some things has been so incredibly exciting. And it has renewed my confidence because my confidence was shattered for the last year and a half from that. I never realized until I'm not in pain anymore. You realize when you're in chronic pain, what that just does to you. And now that I don't have it, I realize, yeah, my confidence was shot. And so now it's coming back. And I feel like, I mean, it's just incredible. So if you've never strength trained, man, don't think that it's passed you by. It's never too late to start and go get those kind of benefits.
Yeah, and that's huge. And first off, I'm so happy that you're able to come out of that hip replacement on the other
Yeah.
side feeling amazing, because it's pretty wild how quickly active people come back from stuff like that. And that's one of the things I noticed too with a lot of my clients that get surgeries and get things. They're like, the doctor said it's going to take this long, but then they're feeling really good weeks or like even months ahead of time. And you're like, well, that's for the normal person that doesn't exercise. You're kind of in the minority. You're able to recover a lot faster.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. All the work that I put in prior is what is making things move right now. You know, without a doubt, there's a direct correlation to that. The PT people I was working with right after surgery were just like, I mean, I was doing things on day 2 that a lot of people weren't doing for several weeks. And, some of those things were really hard to do, but I was just at a different place because I prepped for that. And to the point where when they first got me out of bed to walk, and I'm on the walker, and my husband took a video of this. I'm walking like, and she's like, slow down, slow down. And it just felt normal. I no pain, no nothing, no explanation other than I worked for that prior, and so being active helps, God forbid if anybody needs a surgery or medical treatment or whatever for anything, you coming back after having been active prior is going to be a lot easier. Um, and it's just another great reason for all of us to be active.
Absolutely. And especially even like younger populations too. Like if you're about to get like pregnant, like strength training is one of the best things you can do. Like would you be pretty excited if you could like go back to when you were having your son and you could have gotten some carries in or some deadlifts and
Oh
been like
man.
better prepared?
Yeah, it's so funny. Yeah, because I was just kind of in the beginning stages of strength training then. But yeah, if I know what I know now, if I could rewind and go back then, I would have done a whole lot more. But it's so funny when I had him. I remember one of the docs saying, "You have your trainer to thank for this," because delivery itself was pretty. I mean, it was long, but when the moment came, it was not that big of a deal, and I bounced back pretty quick from that as well. I was walking, I was doing some stuff. Maybe the doctor was saying, "Please wait a week," and I'm like, "How about 5 days? How about 4 days?" kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, just being active, lifting, making sure we're moving in some way every single day. Yeah, that I think that should be a requirement for everybody, regardless of goals.
Absolutely. And I know that you brought up the menopause before about how that changes things and
Oh,
how it had you feeling a little bit different. Now, during that stage of life, when it comes to the art of strength training, I know that for some people it can actually alleviate some symptoms, but some people, not necessarily. Everybody has a different menopause journey.
mhm.
Was yours able to be improved in any way from strength training, from improving nutrition?
Oh yeah, 100%. Strength training is what saved me. I mean, I was one of those that it saved me because I never did HRT. And, I don't remember. I remember having a conversation with my doctor at one point about it. And I don't remember why, but I opted not to do it. For no reason, probably because I just didn't know enough about
Yeah.
it,
And I
whatever.
I think back then they were also operating under the belief that it would like increase chances of cancer, which is a little bit more
Yes.
nuanced now.
Yes, I totally think so as well. And yeah, I'm sure that that was a driver. So you know, I did everything without HRT, and um, it strength training just. I mean, I had night sweats. That was my biggest issue, a huge issue. So I'm functioning on very little sleep, up multiple times a night, um, and that made everything harder. It made everything harder, and I think what a lot of women seem to think is that menopause is an automatic gaining weight kind of time of life. And really, unless you're eating more than your body needs, you're not going to gain weight in menopause. But what's going to happen is hormonally, where you see your fat's probably going to change. And where we see our fat in menopause is generally in our belly. That's where it hormonally shifts to. So now we see it more. But if you're not eating more calories than your body needs, you're not getting more of it. You just see it more because it's like right there. And I think that's a big misunderstanding with people. You haven't really gained it unless you're eating too much, And a lot of people say, well, I'm not really changing that much how I eat. Well, I'll bet if we can rewind the clock and look maybe 20 years back, we haven't kept really close tabs on the nutrition, as we go on through life. Our lives get busy, we get married, we have kids, we're eating on the fly because we're going here and there, blah, 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 all the things. And we're just not building muscle. And so we're losing some muscle mass a little bit along the way. And then we get to this time of life and hello, Mother Nature, it's a perfect storm. Mother Nature comes into the picture. We've had some loose ends going on and it's a mess. It's a mess.
Yeah.
It makes things harder, but I think everyone needs to understand that it's still doable. The laws of thermodynamics still apply. Eating less than your body needs is going to have you lose weight. And it's just finding that and being able to stay consistent with that and managing menopause symptoms, because menopause symptoms can affect how your behavior is towards food.
Mhm.
If you're tired all the time, the last thing you want to do is figure out dinner for 600 calories or whatever. You're going to say, screw that. I don't have the energy for this. I'm just going to eat whatever, and, and I think that's super important for people to understand. It's not menopause or cortisol that makes you fat. It's your reaction and your behaviors in reaction to menopause symptoms or the stress and all of that. That's the issue. And that requires a real honest awareness as to what's going on and a plan.
Exactly. That's like one of my favorite things when somebody says, I feel like I'm really not eating that much. And I'm like, well, your body says different. Like if you're not able to lose weight and you're trying to eat less, it's not that you're not eating a lot, it's that you don't know how many calories you're consuming.
Yes. Yes. I think that's significant. It's
Yeah.
I'm in a couple Facebook groups about women over 50 losing weight and over 40 losing weight. And there's so many people that comment, yeah, I just, no matter what, I can't lose weight, blah, blah, blah. And I pop in, I said, have you tracked your calories at all? Oh no, I eat healthy. And
Yep.
I'm like, well, I think you ought to start with that and just get an idea of how much you're consuming. And even do this. I mean, I tell people if you don't know where to start with this. Get out a pad of paper and a pencil. And that ages me, but forget your phone, computer, get a pad of paper and a pencil, keep it in the kitchen, and every time you put something in your mouth, write it down. You don't have to weigh it, measure it, just put it on the piece of paper. Be honest about it, whatever it is, food, drink, a handful of this, a sandwich, a bag of chips, whatever it is, write it on the piece of paper and start to look at everything that you put in your mouth during the course of the day. I guarantee you that'll be an eye opener. If you're honest about it. And then what you can do is start making some changes moving forward. After you do that for a couple days, I don't need those 3 handfuls of whatever. Maybe I'll have one instead of the three. I don't need 2 lattes. I'll cut it to one. You can make little behavior changes that are going to make a difference. And you're going to start seeing the wheels start to move.
But
That's how someone can use them.
that's too simple. I'm
I know,
sorry. I gotta
right?
cut in. That's too simple. I don't know if that'll work. Like that's not some super sexy protocol. That's not
That's right.
something that's flashy. It's not
Yep.
Octavia.
It
That
won't
just won't
sell a
work.
thing.
No, can't see it.
So especially with the paper and the pencil.
No, I love that because I'm big on getting people to journal before bed and all
Yeah,
that stuff. So pen and paper, that's
write
the way to
it.
go.
Yeah, write it because it's going to be in your head. It's going to
Exactly.
be more meaningful because we type endlessly into our devices all day long and it becomes mindless after a while. So use pen and paper. It's a little bit more purposeful and it'll have more impact.
Absolutely. And I think that also brings up a good thing, a good topic, which is the stress side of things. I know, like when we were talking before even getting on
Mm.
camera, we were talking about the do not disturb feature. And you're
Yeah.
like, but what if my son texts me at like 4 a.m. and it's like I throw out, and I know a lot of coaches do like these sleep tips, like turn your phone off, put it in the other
Yep.
room. But then like real issues come up. Like I have a client who has a son in college and she's in the same boat where it's like, I need to know if they want to contact me. So like, how do you navigate these rules? But then life says, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, that's been really challenging actually. I have been a non do not disturb girl until, I didn't even know how to set my phone to it, to be honest. Um, and luckily it hasn't been a big issue for me. But when it has, it's when my son has texted me from somewhere. He's living with us right now. He's going to law school. But like he just got back from Italy yesterday because he was stranded in this whole mess, this computer mess. And they're 6 hours ahead. So I hear my phone buzz at, like 4 a.m. and I heard it. And I'm so glad I did because then I was able to wake up and get my husband up and we were able to talk him through some things and help him navigate. So yeah, that part, I'm glad I had my phone, um, you know, eh, ready to go. And that's a mom thing. I think my husband would have said he would have been fine, and I'm sure he
You
would
had the
have.
mom sense.
It's a mom thing, and so I'm fighting the mom thing. My kid's 27, almost 27, by the way. So it's kind of like, yeah, he's not a kid.
So now all these new moms, they are experiencing mom guilt for the first time, or like, oh, it goes away, right?
Yeah, no, no, no. So, but I think there's something to be said for this to put it down and all that. One thing I do try to do is to stop. I don't know. People call it doom scrolling or what. If you just end up scrolling and watching things, I stop that. I really put that down and try to decompress. And the one thing I'm really trying to do, and I'm not always really great at this, I want to try to decompress by reading at night. Um, I'm I like to read, but I don't give myself time to read during the day. I should because I think I'll retain more if I read during the day. At night, I start to read, and I'm just kind of like, okay, I can't read, and I just kind of get sleepy and go to bed, which would be the whole purpose, right? Um, so I'm trying to cut out the interactive electronics. That's kind of my first kind of step. Now that he's back, I can go to, try this do not disturb thing, you
Yep.
know, and see how that works, But like I said, I haven't used it and I haven't really gotten like a lot of buzzing on my phone either. I mean, so I don't know. I don't know what the happy medium is. I think the biggest thing would be for electronics, especially if you really are trying to focus on improving your sleep, is to really stop the scrolling piece, and try to find a wind down kind of routine, whatever that is, whether that's writing or reading or whatever it is, a wind down routine. I am, to my credit, literally turning off the light at about the same time every single night, and I'm getting some decent sleep. Getting up and having to go to the bathroom at this stage of the game, that's part of the deal right now. It
Yeah.
used to be multiple times a night. That's gotten better. But yeah, I
Yeah, but
mean,
even
I'm
adjusting
tackling
little things like when you wake up at that time, are you putting all the lights on or are you like dimming the lights as best you can or like putting like a little night light on when you do it? That stuff can make a world of difference.
100% it can. And I'm an earlier riser than my husband, right? I'm a morning person. He's a night owl. So I'll get up and kind of get out of the bed area, and then I can turn on lights and do the whole 9 yards, right? And because once I'm up, I'm up. There's no turning back. I'm not a nap girl either. I won't go up and take a nap because then I feel groggy for the rest of the day. I don't feel good. So I'll tough out a day and go to bed earlier as opposed to taking a nap and then, going to bed later or whatever. But the morning owl in me is like, once I'm up, I'm up. I'm more productive in the morning. I get less and less productive as the day goes on. I'm well aware of that. So, like after dinner, I try not to do anything that requires a lot of brain function. You know, I don't want to get into all that. If I see emails in the inner circle, I'll leave them till the next morning when I can think through how I want to respond, as opposed to dragging that out into bedtime kind of thing. I'm getting better at
Exactly.
that.
And that is so tough as a coach, like knowing
Yeah.
that there's like somebody right
Oh
there and
my
you're like,
God.
I could do it in 2 seconds, but
Yep.
you got to give them your best, not whatever you have in the
Yep.
moment.
I'd rather clear the slate of emails and start the next day clean. It's like having a sink full of dishes. I don't want to wake up to that. That's
Mhm.
why I'll stay up and make sure all the dishes that everyone put in the sink when the dishwasher's right next door to it, all of that, I'll take care of all of that at night before I go to bed because I will sleep better knowing I don't have to deal with that when I get up. I can
Yeah.
just get up, hit brew on the coffee machine and get going on it. Instead of having to clean a whole sink full of dishes first thing in the morning. That would drive
See,
me crazy.
when it comes to dishes, especially, I'm a soaker. I'm like,
Um, is this a male thing? 'Cause my husband and son, like, I asked my husband one day, "Why is that cup in the sink? Why don't you just put in the dishwasher? It's soaking." It had water in it. It doesn't need to soak.
because you're just like, hey, we know how this goes. If it's not soaking and it gets like hard and caked
Yeah.
on, you're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
well, now we've gone too far. So
Yep.
it's like that
Yep.
nice little middle ground of we're
Mm.
trying. We're
Mhm.
not doing the whole job, but we're doing our best.
You are correct. I need to give more credit. 100%.
But that's definitely a point of contention, I know, in a lot of households. Um, but yeah, this we covered so many good things. I'm really like glad we went down this route, and I feel like a lot of people listening probably feel a little bit more empowered after this conversation, rather than the typical when you're on social media, you feel like everything's wrong with me and I
Yeah.
have no control.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest message here is that you actually are in control, even though it feels like on days that you're not. And to remember too that it's not about being perfect because our lives aren't perfect. Our setup's never going to be perfect. It's about what you do most of the time that's important, right? And if you get off track to whatever your goal is, instead of allowing yourself to stay off track, just get back on track the very next meal if it's a nutrition thing or whatever. Just hop right back on track. That's all you have to do. And you're still in control. And I know old school thinking is I blew it. I blew it. I went out for dinner and I blew it. No, you didn't blow anything. You just hop back on track. If you continue to stay off track, well, then that's a different story. But the cool thing is you control this, right? And if you really step back and think about that, how empowering that is with all the things that are being thrown at you, this is super empowering and hopefully encouraging for everyone.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, if they want to go more down the rabbit hole and see more of the stuff that you're putting out on the tips and tricks on how to do all this stuff, where
Mhm.
could they find you?
So they can find me on Instagram and it's Susan Niebergall Fitness. And I'm over on Facebook too, and a little bit on X or Twitter, whatever it is. Not much there. But I have a whole YouTube channel with a lot of resources. And I documented actually my hip replacement journey. I have a before leading up to surgery video and then a post video on how I did all my workouts and things like that. I have a book, The Strong Fit at Any Age. It's Never Too Late. That's the book. It's on Amazon. And the podcast is the Strong and Lean at Any Age podcast. And Brian, I need to get you on too. We'll talk because I think my audience would love to hear from you too. I think that would be wonderful.
Absolutely. I'd be pumped. That'd be
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so everybody knows, so you don't have to go searching around. It's all going to be in the description. It's all going to be in the show notes. Just click away and get Susan's stuff, and you'll be much happier for it. Now, if at any point anybody heard something during this podcast where they're like, wow, my mom or my grandma or my aunt, whatever, has to hear what Susan just said, make sure to send this their way and just say, Susan and Brian say hi, and you're
Yeah,
welcome.
definitely. Yeah.
All right. So thank you again, Susan, for taking the time to come on. And everybody who made it this far, thank you for listening this long. Until next time, I will see you all same place next episode. But until then, go kick some ass. I'll see you all later.